My husband abandoned me in the 9th month of pregnancy. 5 years later, I married the richest man in town, and he regretted it. Anna always believed in love. She had spent years with Gustavo, imagining a life together, filled with laughter and dreams. When she found out she was pregnant, her heart swelled with joy. She was certain this child would complete their family, sealing their bond forever. In the 8th month of pregnancy, Anna would often sit on the small balcony of their apartment, caressing her belly and smiling to herself. Gustavo was working late most nights, but Anna convinced herself it was because he wanted to provide for their growing family. She dismissed the lingering worry in the back of her mind, the slight change in his voice, the distracted way he responded to her messages, and the long silences at dinner. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Anna was folding baby clothes in their bedroom when Gustavo walked in. He looked tired, but there was something else, something she couldn't place. "It's almost time," Anna said softly, holding up a tiny blue onesie. "I think he'll be here next week." Gustavo nodded, forcing a small smile. "Yeah, that's great." Anna frowned slightly but brushed it aside. She wrapped her arms around his waist, pressing her cheek against his chest. His heartbeat felt distant, like he was already somewhere else. "You've been working too much," she whispered. "You don't have to do everything alone. We'll figure it out together." Gustavo kissed the top of her head but didn't say anything. His silence lingered long after he left the room. Days passed and Anna's uneasiness grew. Gustavo had become more absent, and when he was home, he barely spoke. One night, Anna woke up to find the bed empty beside her. She found him sitting in the living room, staring at his phone. "Can't sleep?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Gustavo startled slightly but placed his phone down. "Yeah, just thinking about things." Anna sat beside him, taking his hand in hers. "You can talk to me, you know. Whatever it is, we'll get through it." He squeezed her hand lightly but didn't say anything else. A week later, Anna woke up alone again. This time, there was no note, no message, just emptiness. Gustavo was gone. At first, Anna thought he had gone to work early, but as the hours dragged on, dread sank deeper into her chest. She called his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. By evening, panic had settled in. She texted him, hoping for some explanation. Her phone buzzed a few minutes later. "I'm not ready for this. I'm sorry." The words felt like knives twisting into her heart. Anna read the message over and over, unable to breathe. Tears streamed down her face as she held her belly protectively, whispering apologies to the child inside her. Gustavo didn't return that night, or the next. By the time Anna went into labor, she was alone. A neighbor drove her to the hospital, staying with her until little Gabriel was born. When she held him for the first time, her heart ached not just with love, but with a grief she couldn't describe. For months after Gabriel's birth, Anna refused to believe Gustavo was gone for good. She left his clothes in the closet, his toothbrush by the sink. She imagined he would walk through the door at any moment, filled with regret and ready to be a father. But he never did. Hello guys. If you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel. To help us. Anna's days became a blur of sleepless nights and long shifts at the bookstore she worked at. Gabriel became her entire world, the small beacon of light that pulled her through the darkest moments. Yet, every so often, as she rocked him to sleep, she would glance at the door, hoping. 5 years passed this way. Anna had learned to live with the silence Gustavo left behind. She had stopped waiting, stopped searching for closure that would never come. It was during one of her shifts at the bookstore that she met Leonardo. He was charismatic, wealthy, and carried himself with an air of quiet confidence. From the moment they met, Leonardo was drawn to Anna's resilience. "Do you have any recommendations for children's books?" he asked one afternoon, glancing at Gabriel, who was thumbing through the pages of a colorful story. Anna smiled, leading him to the back of the store. As she knelt to pick up a book, Leonardo's gaze softened. "He's your son?" "Yes," Anna replied, brushing a curl away from Gabriel's forehead. "Just the two of us." Leonardo didn't pry, but he returned to the store often. Over time, their conversations grew longer. He invited Anna and Gabriel to dinner, and against her better judgment, she accepted. Leonardo wasn't like Gustavo. He was patient, steady, and treated Gabriel as if he were his own. Months passed, and Anna found herself falling for him. When Leonardo asked her to marry him, she hesitated. Could she trust someone again? But Gabriel adored him, and Anna couldn't deny the feelings blossoming in her heart. She said yes. Their engagement was announced at a grand charity event Leonardo hosted. As Anna stood by his side, wearing an elegant dress that made her feel like she belonged to this new world, she caught a glimpse of someone in the crowd. Her heart stopped. Gustavo. His eyes locked with hers, and for a moment, the entire room faded away. He looked different, worn, thinner, and dressed in clothes that didn't quite fit. His gaze lingered on Gabriel, who was tugging at Leonardo's hand. Gustavo approached slowly, unsure if he should even be there. Anna, he whispered, barely audible over the crowd. She stiffened but held her ground. Is that him? Gustavo's voice cracked as he glanced at Gabriel. Leonardo placed a protective hand on Anna's back, sensing the tension. We should go, he said softly, but Anna didn't move. Her chest tightened as years of buried anger and hurt rose to the surface. Gustavo looked at her with regret in his eyes. I made a mistake, he said, his voice trembling. I want to see him. Anna's lips tightened. The man who had left her at her weakest now stood before her, asking for forgiveness she wasn't ready to give. You don't get to decide that now, she replied firmly. He doesn't know who you are. Gustavo's eyes glistened, but Anna turned away, walking toward Gabriel and Leonardo, her head held high. For the first time in years, Anna felt in control of her life. Leonardo's presence in Anna's life grew stronger after the engagement. He became a steady figure not only for her but for Gabriel as well. Every weekend, they would visit the park, and Gabriel would run ahead, laughing as Leonardo chased him. Anna watched from a distance, her heart warming at the sight. But the encounter with Gustavo lingered in her mind. No matter how much she tried to push it away, his face haunted her dreams. She could still hear the way his voice trembled when he asked to see Gabriel. One afternoon, as Anna organized books in the store, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I know I don't deserve it, but please, let me see him. Just once. Her fingers tightened around the phone. She stared at the message, her heart pounding. For a moment, she considered deleting it, pretending it never came. But deep down, she knew Gustavo wouldn't disappear so easily. That evening, Anna sat by Gabriel's bedside as he drifted to sleep. She brushed a curl away from his forehead, studying his peaceful face. Would it hurt him to know who his real father was? Would it confuse him? The next morning, Anna met Leonardo for breakfast at their usual cafe. She stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, debating whether to tell him. I saw Gustavo again, she said finally, breaking the silence. Leonardo's expression darkened. He placed his cup down carefully. What did he want? He wants to see Gabriel, Anna admitted, her voice quiet. Leonardo leaned back in his chair, considering her words. And what do you want? Anna hesitated. She had asked herself the same question repeatedly, but no answer seemed right. I don't know, she confessed. Part of me feels like he doesn't deserve it. But Gabriel might want to know him someday. Leonardo reached across the table, taking her hand in his. You don't owe Gustavo anything, Anna. He made his choice. You've done everything for Gabriel. Don't let him undo that. Anna nodded, but the uncertainty remained. 2 weeks passed, and Anna avoided responding to Gustavo's message. She immersed herself in work, focusing on wedding preparations. Leonardo noticed her distraction but chose not to press her. But fate had other plans. On a Saturday afternoon, as Anna and Gabriel walked home from the park, a familiar figure stood near their building. Gustavo. Gabriel's small hand tightened around Anna's as they approached. Mom, who's that? He asked innocently. Anna froze. Her mind raced for an explanation, but before she could answer, Gustavo stepped forward. Hey there, Gustavo said softly, crouching to Gabriel's eye level. I'm a friend of your mom's. Gabriel tilted his head, studying him curiously. You look like me, he said with a child's bluntness. Anna's heart sank. She gently pulled Gabriel closer, shielding him. I need you to leave, Gustavo, she said firmly. This isn't the time. I'm not here to cause trouble, Gustavo insisted, his eyes pleading. I just wanted to see him. Leonardo arrived moments later, his car pulling up to the curb. His expression hardened the second he saw Gustavo. What's going on? Leonardo's voice was calm, but there was steel behind it. Nothing, Anna replied quickly. We were just leaving. Leonardo's gaze didn't waver from Gustavo. If you care about them at all, you'll stay away, Leonardo said coldly. Gustavo clenched his jaw but nodded reluctantly. As Anna led Gabriel inside, she felt Gustavo's eyes on her, heavy with unspoken words. Later that night, Anna sat in the living room, staring at the wedding invitation proofs spread across the table. Leonardo sat beside her, watching quietly. You don't have to protect me, Anna whispered. I can handle Gustavo. Leonardo shook his head. I know you can, but that doesn't mean you should have to deal with this alone. Anna leaned against him, allowing herself a rare moment of vulnerability. She knew Gustavo wasn't done, and deep down she wasn't sure if she was either. Days passed without another sign of Gustavo. Anna hoped he had finally understood her message and left for good. But in the quiet moments, when Gabriel was asleep and Leonardo was away on business, she found herself wondering, what had happened to Gustavo during those years? How had he fallen so far from the confident man she once loved? One afternoon, as Anna sorted through wedding invitations, Sophia, her longtime friend and mentor, entered the bookstore. She had been there for Anna since Gabriel's birth, guiding her through the toughest times. Sophia glanced at the scattered papers. You look distracted, she said gently. Wedding planning getting to you? Anna hesitated. It's not the wedding. It's Gustavo. Sophia's eyebrows rose slightly. He's back. Anna nodded. He showed up at the apartment. He wants to see Gabriel. Sophia set down her bag and crossed her arms. And what do you think about that? I don't know, Anna admitted, rubbing her temples. Leonardo says I don't owe him anything. But what if Gabriel wants to know him someday? I don't want to be the reason they're strangers. Sophia sat beside her, thoughtful. You've done everything for Gabriel, but you also have to protect him. Gustavo left by choice. That's not something Gabriel needs to carry. Anna sighed, but Sophia's words stayed with her long after she left. That evening, as Anna and Leonardo prepared dinner, the phone rang. Anna hesitated before answering. It was Gustavo. His voice was quiet, almost fragile. I'm not asking for much. I just want to talk. Anna glanced at Leonardo, who watched her carefully. Where are you? She asked. The cafe was nearly empty when Anna arrived. Gustavo was seated by the window, his gaze distant. He looked thinner, more worn than the last time she saw him. Anna sat across from him, crossing her arms protectively. Say what you need to say. Gustavo's eyes met hers, filled with regret. I know I can't fix the past, but I'm not the same man who left you, Anna. I was scared. I thought running away would make things easier, but it didn't. Anna's heart tightened. You didn't just leave me, Gustavo. You left him. Gabriel doesn't even know who you are. I know, Gustavo whispered, but I want to change that. Please, let me see him. Just once. Anna shook her head. It's not that simple. You can't walk back into our lives like nothing happened. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Gustavo said quietly. I just want a chance to be better. Anna felt the weight of his words but didn't respond. She left the cafe that night feeling more conflicted than ever. The next morning, as Anna walked Gabriel to school, she noticed Gustavo standing at a distance, watching them. He didn't approach, but his presence was undeniable. When Anna arrived at the bookstore later, Leonardo was waiting. He could see the tension in her face before she spoke. He's not leaving, Anna said softly. Leonardo's jaw tightened. Then I'll handle it. No, Anna interrupted. This is something I have to face. For Gabriel's sake. Leonardo met her gaze, concern flickering in his eyes. I trust you, but promise me you'll be careful. Anna nodded, but she knew this was only the beginning. Gustavo's presence became a shadow that followed Anna everywhere. Though he kept his distance, she could feel his eyes lingering whenever she walked Gabriel to school or left the bookstore in the evenings. It wasn't threatening, but it was persistent, like a ghost from her past refusing to fade. One afternoon, Anna found herself sitting on a park bench, watching Gabriel play with a small group of children. The air was crisp, the sun casting long shadows over the grass. She barely noticed Gustavo approach until he was standing a few feet away. I'm not here to cause trouble, he said softly, sitting down beside her. Anna kept her eyes on Gabriel, her posture tense. Then why are you here? I don't know, Gustavo admitted, running his hands through his hair. I guess I keep hoping you'll change your mind. Anna turned to face him, her eyes sharp. You don't get to hope for that. Not after everything. Gustavo nodded, swallowing the bitterness rising in his throat. I know, but I can't walk away. Not from him. Anna sighed, tired of circling the same conversation. Gabriel doesn't know you. He's happy, Gustavo. Why disrupt that? Because I need to know I tried, Gustavo said, his voice almost breaking. I made so many mistakes, Anna, but I won't make this one, even if you hate me for it. Anna didn't respond right away. The memories of being left alone in that hospital room came flooding back. The cold silence, the empty space beside her. But then she looked at Gabriel, laughing under the sun, full of life and innocence. Don't confuse your guilt with his needs, Anna finally said, standing up. Gabriel isn't here to fix what's broken in you. Gustavo remained seated, watching as Anna walked away, Gabriel's small hand slipping into hers. That night, Anna sat by the window, the city lights flickering in the distance. Leonardo entered the room quietly, sitting across from her. He approached me today, Anna said without looking up. Leonardo's expression darkened, but he stayed calm. What did he want this time? The same thing, Anna replied. To see Gabriel. Leonardo leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. And what are you going to do? I don't know, Anna admitted. Part of me wants to shut him out forever. But Gabriel deserves the truth, even if it's hard. Leonardo studied her face for a long moment. I'll support whatever decision you make. But I need you to know something. Anna's eyes met his, curious. I'm not afraid of Gustavo, Leonardo said firmly. But I am afraid of what he can stir in you. I've seen how much you've grown, how hard you fought for this life. Don't let him pull you back. Anna reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. I won't, she whispered. But deep down, she wasn't entirely sure. Days passed, and Anna's thoughts grew heavier. She tried to focus on wedding preparations, but Gustavo's voice echoed in the back of her mind. She hadn't told Gabriel anything yet, unsure of how to even begin. The weight of the decision sat like a stone in her chest. One evening, while Gabriel played in his room, Leonardo sat with Anna in the living room. The soft glow of the lamps made the space feel warm, but Anna's mind was elsewhere. I can see it's still bothering you, Leonardo said gently, setting down his glass of wine. Anna exhaled slowly. It's just, Gabriel deserves to know the truth. But I don't know if I'm doing this for him or for Gustavo's redemption. Leonardo leaned back, watching her carefully. Gabriel's happy, Anna. He has you. And if I'm lucky, maybe one day he'll let me fill that role too. Anna smiled faintly, appreciating Leonardo's patience. But Gustavo was still Gabriel's father, no matter how much she wished she could erase the pain of his absence. Later that night, as Anna tucked Gabriel into bed, he looked up at her curiously. Mom, he said softly, his eyes half-lidded with sleep. That man at the park. I've seen him before, haven't I? Anna's breath caught. She brushed his hair back gently. You might have, she admitted. Gabriel's brow furrowed. Who is he? For a moment, Anna considered lying. But the innocence in his eyes stopped her. He's someone from before you were born. I'll tell you more when you're older, she said, kissing his forehead. Gabriel nodded, already drifting off to sleep. Anna sat in his room long after he had fallen asleep, the quiet hum of the city outside filling the space. She knew she couldn't avoid the truth much longer. The next day, Anna made the decision. She sent Gustavo a brief message, agreeing to meet one last time. But this time, Gabriel would be with her. They met at the park on a Sunday afternoon. Gabriel ran ahead, chasing butterflies, while Anna stood beside Gustavo. "You only get one chance," she said firmly, crossing her arms. Gustavo's eyes stayed on Gabriel, filled with a mix of longing and regret. "I understand." When Gabriel finally approached, Anna knelt beside him. "This is Gustavo," she said softly. "He's someone I used to know a long time ago." Gabriel tilted his head, examining Gustavo curiously. "Hi," he said simply. Gustavo crouched down, his voice shaking slightly. "Hi, Gabriel. It's nice to meet you." They didn't stay long, and Gabriel never questioned much afterward. But as Anna and Gabriel walked home, she felt something shift, a weight lifting from her shoulders. Gustavo had been given his moment, but Anna knew where her heart truly lay, with Gabriel, and with Leonardo, who had chosen to stay when no one else did. The weeks following the meeting at the park were quiet. Gustavo didn't call or send messages, and Anna felt a strange sense of relief. Gabriel, young as he was, barely mentioned the encounter. It was as if Gustavo's brief appearance had simply been a passing shadow in their lives. Leonardo's presence, however, remained constant. He was there for every parent-teacher meeting, every scraped knee, and every bedtime story Gabriel demanded. Anna watched as the bond between them grew, small but steady. Gabriel's laughter filled their home, and Leonardo seemed to know exactly how to make him smile. One evening, as Anna prepared dinner, Gabriel sat at the table with his sketchbook, drawing furiously. Leonardo leaned over his shoulder, pretending to be deeply impressed. "What's this one?" Leonardo asked, pointing at the drawing. Gabriel grinned. "That's you. And this," he flipped the page, "is Mom. And me." Leonardo smiled, ruffling Gabriel's hair. Anna paused at the stove, watching them with quiet affection. This was their life now, simple, steady, and peaceful. But that peace was short-lived. The next morning, as Anna arrived at the bookstore, Sophia greeted her with a tense expression. "There's something you need to see," Sophia said, handing Anna her phone. A local news article flashed across the screen. Gustavo's name was in bold letters. "Local businessman accused of fraud, former associates speak out." Anna's heart sank. She skimmed the article, reading about failed investments and financial scandals. Gustavo had tried to launch a business after returning to town, but things had unraveled quickly. Her phone buzzed moments later. Gustavo's name appeared on the screen. Anna hesitated but answered. "I didn't want you to find out this way," Gustavo said, his voice strained. "It's not as bad as they're making it sound." Anna clenched her jaw. "I let you see Gabriel because I thought you were trying to be better. Was that a lie too?" "No," Gustavo said quickly. "I swear, Anna, I didn't come back to hurt you. I made mistakes. I'm paying for them." Anna closed her eyes, steadying her breath. "I can't help you," she said finally. "Whatever this is, it's yours to deal with." Gustavo was silent for a long moment. "I understand," he said quietly. "But I wasn't lying when I said I wanted to know Gabriel. That hasn't changed." Anna ended the call without another word. That night, as Anna sat beside Leonardo on the couch, she showed him the article. "He's dragging himself down," she said, exhaustion lacing her voice. "I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he really can't stop." Leonardo took the phone from her gently. "He's not your responsibility," he said. "And Gabriel doesn't need to be part of this." Anna nodded. "I know, but I just hope, for Gabriel's sake, that one day Gustavo figures out how to stand on his own." Leonardo wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "He's lucky to have you," Leonardo said softly. "Both of you." For the first time in days, Anna felt like she could breathe again. Weeks passed without another word from Gustavo. Anna found herself slipping back into the rhythm of normal life. Gabriel's school events, wedding preparations, and quiet evenings with Leonardo filled the spaces that Gustavo's brief return had unsettled. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the city, Anna sat with Leonardo on their balcony. Gabriel was inside, painting at the kitchen table, humming to himself. The warmth of the moment felt untouchable, like nothing could disturb it. Leonardo took Anna's hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. "You've been quiet tonight," he said gently. Anna smiled faintly. "I've been thinking about how different things feel now. I never imagined being this happy." After everything, Leonardo kissed her hand softly. "You deserve this. You and Gabriel both." But as the words left his lips, Anna's phone vibrated on the table. She glanced at the screen and froze. Gustavo's name again. Leonardo noticed the shift in her expression. "You don't have to answer." Anna hesitated. The silence stretched between them. "I'll be quick," she whispered, stepping inside to take the call. "Hello." Gustavo's voice came through, rough and tired. "Anna, I need to see you." Anna's grip on the phone tightened. "Gustavo, I told you." "Please," he interrupted. "It's not about me. It's about Gabriel." Anna's heart sank. "What about him?" There was a long pause. Gustavo exhaled heavily. I need to explain something. Face to face. Can you meet me?" One last time, Anna glanced at Leonardo, who was watching her carefully from the balcony. "I'll meet you," she said softly. "Tomorrow morning." "But if this is another excuse, Gustavo." "It's not," Gustavo said quickly. "Thank you." The line went dead, and Anna lowered the phone slowly. Leonardo stepped inside, his brow furrowed. What did he want? Anna shook her head. "I don't know yet, but I'll find out tomorrow." Leonardo approached, cupping her face in his hands. "You don't have to do this alone." Anna placed her hand over his. "I know, but I need to hear what he has to say." "For Gabriel." Leonardo kissed her forehead gently. "Just promise me." "You'll be careful." "I will," Anna whispered. That night, as she lay in bed, Anna couldn't shake the unease settling in her chest. Gustavo's voice, the weight of his words. Something told her this wasn't over. Not yet. The next morning, Anna met Gustavo at a small cafe near the edge of town. The place was quiet, with only a few early risers scattered across the tables. Gustavo was already there, sitting by the window with his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. He looked thinner than before, as if the weight of his troubles had finally caught up to him. Anna approached cautiously, pulling out the chair across from him. Gustavo glanced up, offering a weak smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice hoarse. "I didn't come for you," Anna replied, folding her hands in her lap. "I came for Gabriel. So, say what you need to say." Gustavo shifted uncomfortably, running his fingers through his unkempt hair. "I'm not going to drag this out. I know I've made a mess of my life and I know I've hurt you. But I wanted to be honest about something." Anna's chest tightened, bracing for the worst. "I left because I was scared," Gustavo admitted, his gaze fixed on the table. "Scared of being a father, scared of failing, and scared that I wasn't enough for you or Gabriel." Anna's jaw clenched. She had waited years to hear those words, but now that they were spoken, they felt hollow. "You didn't just leave, Gustavo," she said quietly. "You disappeared. You abandoned us when we needed you the most. And now you think words will fix that." Gustavo met her eyes, pain flickering in his own. "No, I know words aren't enough, but I thought maybe Gabriel should know the truth one day, even if it's not now." Anna sat back in her chair, the cafe growing colder around her. She thought of Gabriel, his laughter, the way he had embraced Leonardo without hesitation. "He already has someone," Anna said softly. "Leonardo's been there for him in ways you never were." Gustavo lowered his head, nodding slowly. "I've seen that, and I'm grateful, but I'm not asking to take his place." "Then what do you want, Gustavo?" Anna pressed, her patience wearing thin. His voice trembled. "I want to make sure Gabriel never feels like I did growing up. Like he wasn't wanted, Anna's heart softened, just slightly. She had known Gustavo's childhood had been difficult, but she never realized how deeply it shaped him. "I won't let that happen," Anna said firmly. "Gabriel knows he's loved. That's why I'm here, to protect him from anything that could take that away." Gustavo nodded again, accepting her words. "I'm leaving town," he said after a long pause. "I think it's better this way. But if one day Gabriel asks about me, I just want him to know I tried, even if I was too late." Anna studied him for a moment, searching for any trace of manipulation or deceit. But all she saw was a broken man trying to salvage what little remained of his pride. "I'll tell him," Anna said quietly. Gustavo looked at her with quiet gratitude. "Thank you." As Anna stood to leave, she felt lighter, as if a small part of the weight she had carried for years had been lifted. Gustavo's absence had left scars, but they were healing. And when she walked through the door of their apartment that afternoon, greeted by Gabriel's excited laughter and Leonardo's warm embrace, Anna knew she was exactly where she needed to be. In the days following her meeting with Gustavo, Anna felt a quiet sense of closure begin to settle. His departure left no visible trace in their lives, but deep down, she knew something had shifted. For the first time in years, the lingering questions and shadows of the past felt distant, as though they no longer had the power to weigh her down. Leonardo noticed the change. One evening, as they sat together after putting Gabriel to bed, he gently brushed a strand of hair from Anna's face. "You seem lighter," he said softly. Anna smiled faintly. "I think I am." Leonardo studied her carefully. "What did Gustavo really say to you?" Anna hesitated for a moment. "He's leaving town. For good, this time." Leonardo's eyes flickered with relief, but he remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "He said he didn't want Gabriel to grow up feeling unwanted," Anna explained. "It wasn't about trying to take him away from us. I think he just needed to believe he left something good behind." Leonardo's grip on her hand tightened gently. "He's right about one thing," Leonardo said. "Gabriel is something good. But that's because of you, Anna. You've given him everything." Anna lowered her gaze, warmth spreading through her chest. "I didn't do it alone," she whispered. Leonardo smiled but didn't argue. A few days later, Gabriel's school held a small art exhibition, displaying the children's drawings and crafts. Anna and Leonardo stood together, watching Gabriel proudly point out his work to his classmates. "This one's my favorite," Gabriel said excitedly, tugging Anna's hand as he led them to a large drawing taped to the wall. It was a simple picture, 3 stick figures holding hands, with the sun shining brightly above them. Anna knelt beside him, her heart swelling as she traced the outline with her fingers. "Who's in the picture, sweetheart?" she asked. Gabriel grinned. "That's you, and me, and Leonardo." Leonardo's breath caught slightly, and Anna glanced at him, seeing the emotion flicker in his eyes. Gabriel leaned closer, whispering as if sharing a secret. "I didn't know how to draw Gustavo. I forgot what he looks like." Anna felt a gentle ache, but she brushed Gabriel's hair lovingly. "That's okay," she said softly. "You drew exactly who you needed to." Leonardo crouched beside them, resting a hand on Gabriel's shoulder. "I love it," he said, his voice warm and sincere. Gabriel beamed, running off to show his friends. Anna stayed by the drawing for a moment longer, her fingers lingering over the paper. Leonardo wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "You're building something beautiful," he whispered. Anna rested her head against his shoulder, exhaling softly. "We are," she corrected. And in that moment, Anna knew their story had found its way forward, not by erasing the past, but by choosing to embrace the future. As the weeks rolled by, wedding preparations moved forward at full speed. Anna found herself caught up in the whirlwind of venue decisions, final dress fittings, and seating charts. But through it all, Leonardo's calm and steady presence grounded her. Gabriel, thrilled by the idea of a celebration, constantly asked if he could be the one to carry the rings. His excitement was contagious, filling the house with laughter and light. One evening, as Anna sat with Gabriel helping him with homework, Leonardo entered the room holding a small box. He knelt beside them, opening it to reveal two simple yet elegant rings. Gabriel's eyes widened. "Are those for the wedding?" Leonardo nodded with a smile. "What do you think? Should I let you take care of them until the big day?" Gabriel's chest puffed out with pride. "I won't lose them. Promise." Anna laughed softly, watching as Leonardo handed the box to Gabriel, who cradled it carefully in his small hands. Later that night, after Gabriel had fallen asleep, Anna and Leonardo sat together on the balcony, the city lights twinkling below. "You know," Anna began, resting her head on his shoulder, "I never imagined this. A life like this." Leonardo kissed her hair gently. "Neither did I, but I'm glad we're here." For the first time in years, Anna felt like she could look toward the future without hesitation. The wedding day arrived with the first soft glow of morning light filtering through the curtains. Gabriel was the first to wake, bounding into Anna's room in his small suit, grinning from ear to ear. "Mom, it's today," he announced proudly, holding the ring box in his hand like a treasure. Anna laughed, pulling him onto the bed and hugging him tightly. "Yes, it is," she said, brushing his curls aside. By afternoon, the venue was filled with flowers and music. Friends and family gathered, their faces glowing with happiness. Sophia stood near the front row, giving Anna a knowing smile as she adjusted the veil over Anna's hair. "You've come a long way," Sophia whispered. Anna squeezed her hand. "I wouldn't be here without you." As the ceremony began, Gabriel walked carefully down the aisle, clutching the rings as if they were the most precious things in the world. When he reached Leonardo, the two exchanged a quiet smile. And when Anna stepped forward, meeting Leonardo's gaze, everything else faded away. She had walked through fire, through heartbreak and uncertainty, but here she stood, stronger, happier, and surrounded by love. When the officiant finally said, "You may kiss the bride," Gabriel cheered louder than anyone else. Later that evening, as the sun set over the reception, Anna sat quietly, watching Gabriel chase fireflies with his cousins. Leonardo sat beside her, his hand resting over hers. "Happy?" he asked softly. Anna turned to him, smiling. "More than I ever thought possible." And as Gabriel's laughter echoed in the fading light, Anna knew she had everything she needed. As the guests slowly began to leave and the music softened, Anna stood at the edge of the reception hall, watching Gabriel dance in circles with Sophia. His laughter filled the air, light and carefree, a reminder of how far they had come. Leonardo approached quietly, slipping his arm around Anna's waist. "Tired?" he asked softly, pressing a kiss to her temple. "A little," Anna admitted, leaning into him. "But it's a good kind of tired." Leonardo smiled. "Gabriel's still going strong. I think he's had more cake than anyone else here." Anna laughed. "He deserves it. It's his celebration too." Leonardo's gaze softened as he watched Gabriel. "You know," he said quietly, "when I first met him, I never imagined I'd feel this way. Like he was already mine even before today." Anna's heart swelled. She took his hand in hers, lacing their fingers together. "He's always felt that way about you. You didn't need today to make it official." Leonardo's eyes glistened slightly, though he quickly blinked it away. "I'll do everything I can for him, Anna. For both of you." Anna squeezed his hand gently. "I know you will." As the evening wind picked up, guests gathered around for the final send-off. Gabriel insisted on holding the basket of flower petals, tossing them with excitement as Anna and Leonardo walked through the path lined with family and friends. Sophia gave Anna a warm embrace before they stepped into the waiting car. "Take care of each other," she whispered. Anna smiled. "We will." Gabriel slid into the seat beside them, already half asleep, his head resting on Leonardo's shoulder. Anna looked at them both, her heart full in a way she hadn't felt in years. As the car pulled away from the venue, the lights of the city faded into the distance. The road ahead felt open, filled with possibilities she no longer feared. For the first time in a long time, Anna knew she wasn't just surviving. She was living, and with Leonardo and Gabriel beside her, she was ready for whatever came next. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. Anna stirred awake, feeling the quiet weight of Leonardo's arm draped over her waist. The house was still, except for the faint hum of the city outside. For a moment, Anna simply lay there, letting the warmth of the new day sink in. It felt different, peaceful in a way she hadn't known for years. Gabriel's footsteps padded softly down the hall, and seconds later, his small face peeked through the doorway. "Mom," he whispered, careful not to wake Leonardo. Anna smiled and held out her hand. "Come here." Gabriel tiptoed into the room, climbing onto the bed and settling between them. Leonardo stirred, blinking awake to find Gabriel snuggled against him. "Good morning," Leonardo said, ruffling Gabriel's hair. Gabriel grinned. "Can we have pancakes today?" Anna laughed softly. "I think we can manage that." The three of them lay there for a little while longer, wrapped in the kind of quiet happiness Anna had once thought impossible. Later that morning, as the smell of pancakes filled the kitchen, Anna caught herself watching Leonardo and Gabriel flipping the batter together. Gabriel was still in his pajamas, standing on a chair to reach the stove, while Leonardo guided his hand carefully. It was such a simple moment, yet Anna felt overwhelmed by gratitude. Leonardo glanced at her, noticing her expression. "What?" he asked with a smile. "Nothing," Anna replied, shaking her head softly. "I just love this. I love us." Leonardo's smile widened. "Me too." Gabriel looked over his shoulder, holding up a misshapen pancake proudly. "I made this one for you, Mom." Anna took it with exaggerated delight. "It's perfect." As they sat around the table, sharing breakfast and laughter, Anna realized that the ordinary, the simple, the quiet, was what happiness truly felt like. No shadows lingered from the past. And as she looked at Gabriel and Leonardo, she knew the future was bright. Hello guys, if you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us